All right, we're reviewing season 9, episode 3 of Married to Medicine. We open up with Quan and Simone. We finally decided to show up on time. Quad has a habit of showing up to whatever meeting filming uh, extremely late, and so she's finally taken a memo on showing up on time and respecting people's time and their boundaries. So they talk about Quad talks about her nephew Mason and what's going on with him, and Dr. Simone discusses her son and his new relationship. And I find it interesting, and this is maybe because he doesn't want to, but we don't hear a lot about Simone. The last two episodes was the older son that they felt like they couldn't get to move out, wasn't motivated, blah blah blah. But we don't hear much about her young to get like an update on what he's doing and things of that. But maybe he doesn't want to be a part of reality TV in any way, and I totally get it. So that finishes that. Then we move on to Toya and Contesta having lunch at Toya's house. Toya's kind of, well, not kind of, she's putting up flowers. I think tulips, I want to say. I think it was tulips. Anyway, she's putting up some sort of flower up, and she's kind of just letting Contessa know that she has to find ways to celebrate herself and can't wait on anyone else to do it. And that's just because Eugene is very busy, working extra shifts to keep his pay up, and we'll discuss that later. But he's busy, and of course, outside of being a stay-at-home mom, she's busy with the kids all the time. So she's trying to find a way to just feel loved and feel special, feel ways to make her smile. As she put it, she's just trying to find ways to make her smile. So she is all into self-care, and as Dr. Tessa says in her confessional, she says Toya's life is all about self-care. She goes on to, name the fact that when they traveled to Dubai, they went first class, and Dubai is, very expensive. They travel first class, and they have a butler that, comes in daily, and all these sort of things. And I think the underlying tone is that in Contessa's mind, Toya really doesn't do crap. So it's like you got a life of leisure, but somehow you've got to find a way to make it more leisurable, if that's a word, more pleasurable for yourself. So they also Toya and Contessa discuss, or they start planning the intervention for Heavenly, which we'll see later in the episode. And she makes sure they call Dr. Simone and let her know that no one needs to know while we're meeting at my house. We're gonna have it at my house. Don't tell Heavenly. Don't tell anyone else, because word may get out that, hey girl, they're getting ready to have an intervention for you, so don't go, or be prepared. So in a sense, they want to ambush Heavenly, which I don't agree with the way I don't agree with that they went about it, but I do think she needed some sort of. I don't think it needed to be an intervention. I just think just sit down as girlfriends and just have a conversation on, look, you're gonna have to stop doing this. It's gonna either mess up the friendship, or it's gonna end the friendship. Like, this is a boundary. Don't discuss my marriage. Straight up. But that's just my personality. I just say it plainly. One. So then we move on to Dr. Jackie doing what Dr. Jackie does best, which is being a doctor. So she's having a discussion with one of her patients about a particular condition that the patient has, with her umbilical cord not being properly placed. And she's just giving her information as to advocate for herself if she's feeling, I think if the contractions were like 7 minutes apart and the pain or something to that extent. But she's just letting her know that, while I probably won't be able to be there to deliver the baby, these are the things to look out for and to let them know, because it's a high mortality rate with African American women. So she's just letting her know, how to better prepare herself. And I think it's important for that to be said. I think across just any platform, I think it's just important to let African American women know to advocate for themselves when it comes to their own healthcare, their health. So let's see, we move on to Mila and Dr. Kieran, and it's time for them to sit down and tell the children that Ms. Gomez, their nanny, will be leaving. And they take it pretty well at first. I'm not sure. I don't think that they understood what was really taking place. Her son was kind of focused on pinto beans. I think the daughter mildly got it, but it wasn't until that she was pulling out of the drive. I think she really grasped the concept that this lady that's been with me for the past 5 years, probably even more less than a nanny, more like a nana, more like a second grandma, is actually leaving. So I found that to be it was pretty sad because I remember as a child, we moved around, a decent amount of time. So I can remember, being attached to people and places and leaving was always Anila's little outfit, that little white crop top and pants with black trim. I thought it was really, really cute, very stylish. Um, and so we kind of in there with the children crying and well, really it was her daughter being upset. And son was just like, well, what about my pinto beans? She must have made some damn good pinto beans. So then let's see, we move on to Dr. Eugene and Toya. Bravo lets us know that it's Toya's rental home. It's not their purchased home, it's a rental. That's just Bravo being shady, but Eugene and Toya have the conversation of she's letting him know that she's, just finding ways to make herself happy. And Dr. Eugene lets her know that he's been feeling like he's walking in the mud, which she said, like, you're sinking. He's like, I just don't know. I just feel like I just have to, get out or something. And I think it's dread. And then in the confessional, they go on, he lets her know that while I'm, not in a director's position, I'm just, working, as a clinical physician now, which I think what he's saying is maybe less demanding in certain ways. Um, you know, he's now having to make up for that differential in pay, so he's working more hours. And Toy says, "Well, have to work more hours?" And he goes, "Well, I didn't want my, pay to decrease or to fluctuate or to take a hit." And she's like, "Well, that's a want, not a have to." And it just dawned on me, like for the millionth time, that she just does not get it. Your husband is not Bill Gates. Your husband is not a billionaire. Your husband works for every, and not saying that billionaires don't work, but there isn't just this superfluous amount of income that's coming in that's never ending, and he doesn't, he's not grinding it out. Like she really just does not get it. And for her to be, I don't know how old she is, but I'm sure she's not 21 or 20. Now, with, getting the pay that he was once getting, now he's having to work extra amount of hours to 10, 11 o'clock at night, and God knows what time he probably gets up in order to keep the pay the same. So there's like a mental disconnect. Like she either is just willfully, excuse me, ignorant, or she's just dumb. Your husband is tired. He's, I have nothing against her staying at home, being a stay-at-home wife and mother, but there's something that's taken place, more than likely financially, that is causing him to feel strained, and she just does not get it. She just does not get it. So anyway, so moving right along, we move along to Dr. Simone and Cecil meeting up with Omarosa for lunch to discuss the book that they're writing. And they let it be known, or Cecil lets it be known up front that they don't cut off people for political affiliations. So in him saying that, I was thinking, well, and I don't know if you know or not, but Omarosa got a lot of flack for working under the Trump administration. A lot of Black America was really against her doing so. So, but they said they didn't, they don't cut off for political affiliations. But I wonder if it's just her, if they would just, anyway, we're not gonna go down that long road. But they said basically we're riding with her, what she does in her political life, whoever she votes for in a booth and what have you, that's her business. She's a good friend, she's a good person. And Omarosa gives them, actually, she didn't give them a lot of advice on their book. She more or less just kind of asked a couple of questions that needed to be answered as far as, are you giving advice? You're talking about your story and things that she didn't really just come out and say, this is what you don't need to do. She really just more or less listened and asked a couple of questions that would probably help them to formulate their plan and their approach to writing. So then we move on to the climax of the episode, which is Dr. Heavenly's intervention. As I said earlier, I don't agree with how they did the intervention. I don't agree with them having an intervention, number one, and then I don't agree with the way that they went about it. So as the people began to show up to Dr. Contesta's house, of course, Quad wasn't for it. Eventually, she came back in. Dr. Jackie wasn't having it, obviously, because she's the doctor. She's on call. She cannot be without her phone. So they kind of just molded it to the person. Anyway, so long story made short, Dr. Simone, Contessa, and oh god, now I forget who the third person was, Toya. Let everyone know before Heavenly arrived that, hey, this is an intervention, and this is what we're planning. And no one across the board, Quad, Anila, Dr. Jackie, no one was on board. And I think that should have been a red flag there. Maybe this isn't a good idea. We'll have it another way. So Dr. Heavenly showed up finally, and as they meet in the theater room of Contessa's home, on the screen they're playing Dr. Heavenly's commentary from her channel. And so, Dr. Heavenly starts laughing. She's like having a good time with it because either she's uncomfortable or she thinks she's funny. She thinks it's funny, but that just lays the foundation for what's to be had, which is just an all-out argument. So as the video on the screen concludes, Contessa, Quad kind of had a look about some of the things that Heavenly said. She said Anila didn't have a graduate degree. She talked to, I can't remember if she said too much about Dr. J, but then she said something in reference to Curtis. So no one was really that upset outside of Dr. Contessa. And so Contessa just went off. She just all out went off on Heavenly and the true dramatic yelling, screaming, crying at the top of her lungs fashion that she does. Heavenly's greatest response was, "You're not mad at me, you're mad at your husband." So, and obviously, Contessa didn't too well, and nothing was really resolved. Heavenly ended up leaving. Dr. Jackie kind of rushed, went out to talk to her, and before then, she talked to her in the theater room, but nothing was really resolved. And I think it's because it was the approach. If you had, and that's why I'm kind of feeling like Contessa's doing this for a storyline, because if you had that great of an issue with Dr. Heavenly talking about, referencing to your husband, your marriage, that's something that as a woman, you deal with head on and you deal with right on. You don't wait 5 months down the road, wait until the TV cameras show up and then all of a sudden, now we talk about it, now we discuss it. That's something that you pretty much nip in the bud. So she said she had even talked to Contessa after the videos were first published. So if you had that great of an issue, why wait, all this amount of time, wait for the audience to show up to have a discussion. So for that reason, I'm not gonna say I don't respect Contessa, but I'm just suspect about Contessa. It's some of her behavior, her antics are suspicious to me. So we'll end it, leave it right there. We'll catch up on episode 4.